I'm here because I really want to talk about this topic. I feel like we're already like towards the end of January. Like this should have been talked about like in December, but I'm glad it wasn't because so much, like 8 days of growth. I think I grew more in 8 days. No, that's not true. Yeah, it is. I grew more in 8 days than I did in 12 months. So, just notes all over. I mean, I have stuff all over the place from notes I took on the plane, at Casey's, at the retreat, on the plane back home, thoughts in my head while I was driving, stupid as I am. I was like, oh, this will be so fun. Let's drive from South Carolina to Florida. It wasn't even cheaper than the plane ticket. I think I paid twice as more for the car that I rented than for the plane ticket. But anyway, I thought I needed to think, and I did, but I only needed to think for like 2 hours, not like 8. But anyway, so I have all these notes for you guys. I want you guys to like lean in with me tonight. You know, I'm not even going to cover any like, I mean, you guys, I'm not going to go over any, I mean, you can listen to the National Wake Up Call. I'm not going to rehash that for you. And you can go into the top of Team Courage where it says kind of what to focus on this week. I want you to kind of be self-starters with that stuff. I'm not going to repeat it or anything, you know, that would be like me assuming that you're stupid or something, that I need to keep repeating things for you and you're not. You know what I mean? You guys are amazing, awesome entrepreneurs, you know, that teamed up with us. So I'm not even going to devalue that or you know, treat you in that fashion. So just take it upon yourself to kind of look at that pin post every single Monday. I have it up there for you guys just to kind of keep you from getting overwhelmed. But tonight is super interactive. I want you, if you don't have notes, I need you to get your notes. You know, if your spouse is in the house, like ask them, just let me take the kids for 30 minutes. Just take them. And take care of bedtime so that I can really focus. This right now, if you really put into action what I teach you right now, it's a game changer, okay? And I've been practicing this kind of stuff for 7 years since I learned it from Shalene, and it's been refined over the years, and then some big game-changing stuff over 8 days. So we're going to have to dig in together, but it's interactive. You have to meet me halfway. It's just what I told my personally sponsored coaches today. If they don't show up with me, I can't help guide. I can't be the encourager in their life, whether it comes to business or fitness or faith or their marriage or anything that they're working on. So y'all have to promise to meet me halfway and at least show up, which we have 133 people on here live. So that's incredible, you guys. That in and of itself, the fact that you made it, I mean, I'm sure you can think of at least 10 other things you have to do right now. Correct? 10 other things that you'd rather be doing, or the laundry or cleaning up or having sex with your spouse. Y'all, just check in. Come on, that was funny, Katie Casey. That was funny. And you're supposed to smile at that. You know what I mean? Checking if you guys are awake or in bed sick, Sherry. So I need you guys to lean in because your time is valuable. So I'm going to ask you a couple questions, and I need you, Kristen Evans said check. I need you, me too, check. I need you, see, even when you're sick, see, just no excuses. You can have excuses or you can have results, right? Chad will have the flu tomorrow. Okay, I'm going to ask you questions, and I need you to be really, really serious. Take it serious, okay? I don't want you to write down or try to figure out what I think the right answers are, or what you think society should tell you they think they are, or what, you know, mentor you've had that has taught something or tried to, you know, has been teaching you. I want you tonight for this call, there's this new phrase, no fox given. I want you to write it down really big at the top. I want you, the number one way to fail, the failure equation, you guys, is the failure formula is to try to please everyone all the time. Write that down. The failure formula is to try to please everyone all the time. Okay. And so no fox given. I mean, we're going to give a fox about what we should give a fox about. Okay, I'm going to put that on a shirt too. I think that'd be good, or a headband, just for a little, or maybe I should tattoo. I seem to tattoo everything on my body that I need to remind myself of. You know what I mean? Redefine myself. God, I have everything with heart, just in case I forget that I'm supposed to put my heart into everything. I tattooed it on my body. So, and not at a young age. I can't even claim it that I did it like when I was 18. I was 34. So here's the question. Why is that dinging? I don't know how to make that stop. I'm going to ask you a question, 3 really, really important questions, and I'm going to give you a second between each one to write them down, Okay. So one, what do you want? When's the last time you asked yourself that? What do you want? I just want you to start writing things down right now, and I'm not going to talk anymore. Okay, and you guys can start sharing in the chat. Super interactive. You know, the veteran coaches that are on here, lead by letting your coaches watch you in the chat. What do you want? Have you ever asked yourself that? You know, not what did your parents do, not what do you think your spouse wants. What do you want? And I'm not saying we're going to not bring that together with your spouse, because y'all know that I think that's incredibly important. But what do you want? Here's the deal, and I was reading about this. You know, we get off, you know, like what I was told growing up was, you know, get your high school degree, get your college degree. It doesn't matter from where. It doesn't even matter what in. Just get it. Get that job, you know, that job security, like in a cubicle, and then, you know, just kind of wait it out. You know what I mean? Just kind of climb the corporate ladder all the way to, you know, until you get the retirement. You know, the same thing was taught to us, you know, in the military. You know what I mean? You just put your 20 years in, you know, you get your retirement. Just kind of like take that. It's just the safest, securest route. You know, and they did a study, and I could read you all the stupid numbers, but most of y'all were like, that would bore you to tears. It said that what they figured out after running the numbers is most people will never be able to retire and even maintain a hot dog dinner lifestyle. How's that for a disappointment at 55, 62, whatever numbers? I mean, it keeps climbing up. So why are we always, I've always wondered about this. I've always, you know, and that's what intrigued me so much about this business when I really started to think about what I wanted, you know, and everybody still thought we were crazy for getting out at 11 years, even though we make more like in a year than Chad would make in 10 more years of the military. But, you know, that security people get so stuck in. But when I started thinking about what I really wanted, when I really allowed myself to think about that, and I got myself surrounded by people that were actually doing what they wanted, like breaking out of the status quo, right? You know, and really getting real with themselves about what life was about. I started, when I thought about all the reasons, okay, now I'm not a big believer in the pros and cons list, because I think I have thoughts on that, but you know, because there's prayer, and then prayer has to have action. Never mind. That's a whole nother topic. But that, okay, so finally I could, if I went down that road, you know, and I'm not putting down the military. Y'all know I love the military. I have lots of military friends, really, really good friends. So we are so blessed. I always have to put like a little asterisk. We are so blessed that there are people that will do that, feel called to that for 20 years to protect this country. I was listening to Gary Vee talk about that, and he was like, you know, and I've talked about this before too, like, well, how much of this is luck? A lot of it. We were freaking born in the United States of America. We were born, that's freaking luck. I mean, because I don't know if y'all have ever stepped in any other countries, you know, even when we went to Belize, y'all. Like, I don't want to live as a Belizean. I'm just saying, I'm glad I wasn't born there. You know, I'm glad I wasn't born in Nicaragua. You know, like, I'm glad I wasn't born in Russia. There's a lot of places. Iran, Iraq. I'm so glad. It was luck. And Gary Vee said, and if your mom would have went and had one more glass of wine, you wouldn't be sitting right here because of the timing of things. Do you see what I'm saying? So it was luck that you're here. I love how Gary Vee shares that. It's like no one ever thinks about that. We just take it all for granted, you know. But it was luck that we were born in the United States, and we can do whatever we want to do, right? Whatever we want to do. And I started thinking about what do I want, and I knew I didn't want to wait until Chad was 50 to start actually being married. Like that, I knew that on my heart. That was a really unpopular thing for me to say. Okay, so it's like, what did I say? Remember what I said? Trying to please everyone all the time is the failure formula, right? If I would have tried to please everyone, Chad CO, my friends in the military, parents, whatever we thought we should do, insurance, you know, it's free insurance, you know, and all of that, retirement, if I would have just gone, that is the failure formula. So when I really stepped back allowed myself, and this is where I want you to go, to ask myself, what do you want? It wasn't to wake up by myself for the better part of 20 more years. Do you understand? Now I had to get real with myself, right? And I had to say that. I had to say that out loud. But wait, I'm going to ask you another question. I'm going to ask you another question. I told you I was going to ask you a series of them. So hopefully you started writing down things that you want. Okay, like for me back then, what did I want? I wanted to pay off the $100,000 of flipping debt. Okay, I wanted a new car, like one that was safe, like with airbags. Do you see what I'm saying? Like I wanted a new truck for Chad. One that we weren't like, I wonder if it'll start today. You know what I mean? Like those were things, I wanted a house cleaning lady. Why? Because instead of cleaning the house, I wanted to freaking read a book with my son. You know what I mean? Like, so these were things that weren't the most popular thing. You know what I mean? Because, I mean, oh my gosh, what if we have someone else clean our house? Will that make us less of a wife? I don't know. You know what I mean? But these were unpopular things that I started to say out loud. But why? But why? Because first I had to ask myself this question. This is the next question I'm going to ask you. What do you hate? I'm going to let you think about that for a second. What do you, write that down. You guys, this might take you a couple days to really think through this. What do you hate? Change actually comes from a place of hate. Okay? You have to, I called it a pain point until I learned on a sermon to call it hate, you know, because that's unpopular. Like to say you hate something, hate's not nice. Well, in some regards it is. If you can't allow yourself, see, sometimes we just say it is what it is. Oh my gosh, take that out of your vocabulary. It is what it is. It's like saying like, this is just meant to be. Holy crap, or it wasn't meant to be. Okay, no, I don't know. Maybe he was waiting for you to take action and then it would have been meant to be. Cracks me up. That wasn't meant to be. No, you didn't do anything. You were praying and praying and praying and thinking he was going to drop it through the ceiling, or just you wanted to move somewhere and it never happened because you thought he was going to lift you up, like you're going to levitate off the ground, and he was just going to move you to a new state, right? So what do you hate? Until you hate crying in the closet, until you hate crying in the closet more than you like those Oreos or that bag of Doritos, or that wine that you like to enjoy a couple too many times a week, until you hate crying in the closet more, it won't change. See, all change really starts with a heart change. For real lasting change, it must happen in the heart. Wine is good, Megan. I have to agree with you. But there's a story on that, because Megan and I really, really love mimosas. And I didn't realize that mimosas were causing stomach aches. Like my stomach, when I drink a mimosa, will get rock hard. I thought it was something else until I haven't been drinking for a while. Went to a retreat this week and drank a mimosa, like rock solid, sick to my stomach. I hate that more than I love the mimosa, so I'll never drink another mimosa. I won't. I won't. I won't. I hate it. I hate it. I hate that feeling, right? And so you might love what it does for you. I might love what the mimosa does for me. It's exciting. It's cute. Looks good in pictures. You know what I mean? You can try all different kinds. You can put a strawberry on top of it. I like what it does for me. It relaxes me. It's exciting on a Saturday morning. I love it when Chad brings it to me in bed. It's so sweet, blah, blah, blah. All that kind of, I love what it does for me, but I hate what it does to me. I hate what it does to me. So you might love what an Oreo does for you in the moment. I did. When Chad was deployed, I loved what the Oreos did for me. Like after the kids were in bed, you know, at 7:30, I come downstairs and, you know, it's like you just want to snack on crap. You know, you deserve it, right? You've been by yourself for 5.5, 6, 7, almost 8 months. I deserve this Oreo. I've been stressed. I've done everything. I deserve this. I worked hard. I had a good work. I mean, I deserve it until I love Oreos. Until I hated it more. Did it change? Until I identified the things I hated. I hated crying in the closet when I got dressed to go on a date with Chad. I hated shopping for homecoming or any like when they come home, not homecoming like high school, but homecoming in the military, when I didn't feel good in my skin. I hated shopping. Like I had to get to that place. I hated shopping for bikinis. I hated covering up like this. You know what I mean? Until I got to that place of hate. What do you think changed? I hated climbing into a cold bed by myself. I hated the debt, what it was doing to Chad and I hated it. So what do you hate? Are you there yet? Are you ready to admit it? Or have you settled for it is what it is? It is what it is. Everybody has this kind of debt. It's normal. Credit card debt is normal. Who cares that it's causing a wedge between me and my husband? Until you hate the wedge more than you hate the shopping spree or the retail therapy or whatever you're doing, until you hate the wedge more than that, nothing will change. Nothing will change. Until you hate being rushed in the morning, until you hate those fights with your kids, you know, ever been there where you're fighting with your kids in the morning because it's rushed? It's like, hurry up, out the door, come on. Until you hate that feeling when they step out of that car at school and they close it, until you hate that feeling of like, man, I really just sent them to school like that. Until you hate that more than you hate hitting the snooze button, you're going to hit the snooze button. But see, some of us, we go numb. All moms are like that. No, they're not. They're not like that. Not all houses operate that way. You know what I mean? But we build this up. Everybody's in debt. No, they're not. They're not. You know what I mean? And we build up all marriages. You know what? When you start to have 3 kids, we start to tell ourselves these stories. No, people don't have sex but a couple times a month. False. Not true. But we build that up in ourselves to make us feel better. Right? So before you can set goals, and before you can even go there, you have to decide what you hate. I went to a Scott Mann conference and I spoke a little bit on social media and some other things. And I talked about how until you hit that pain point, I can't help. I can't help. Until we get there, I can't help. I can't help with fitness. I can't help with marriage. Because excuses, when you don't hate it enough, that's when excuses start to creep in. It's not willpower. It's just you haven't like let the fake down, you know, that fakeness that like everything's good, you know what I mean? You haven't let that down long enough to be like, no, I hate that. I hate it, you know? And until we get there, I can't help. Until you hate not going on not going on dates. That was me. That was the first goal for myself, was to be able to pay for date night. Until I hated not being able to do that, did I actually start making the sacrifices I needed to make or getting outside of my comfort zone to invite. Inviting is uncomfortable for all of us. It's just I hate where I was at more than you do. I was willing to admit it. You know, I hated not having a purpose more than you do. I hated not feeling like I had anything to call my mind more than you do. I hated debt more than you do. I fixed my marriage because I hated the thought of having to split Thanksgivings and all of that BS that goes with divorce more. I got to that point. I'm not doing it. You know, and so we have to get to that place of hate. Okay, so we what do you want? We kind of talked about that. Now you might go back a little bit. Now that you've let yourself go to hate, I don't know if you're multitasking right now, it's not going to work. Because this, everything you do for the rest of the year comes from right here. Okay. And so next, once you think about what you hate, I'm going to ask you the last question that's going to change everything. All these 3 go together. What do you want is a really good question. Okay. And I just wanted to ease you in with that one. You know, I didn't want to, you know, it's like that sticker shock when I looked at the cell phone today when I was like, oh, hell no, I ain't buying that cell phone. I sure have the Corvette, but no, I'm not buying the cell phone. So I lost my train of thought, but this is the one this is the one that's really going to change it all. Get the phone. What excites you? What excites you? Or are you just going through, did you just, you know, you watched your mom or your dad, they just went through the motions. They sat on opposite ends of the couches. They thought about finances. There was never enough. You know what I mean? Like nothing excites you anymore because it's just what it is. You know what I mean? Like, this is kind of all that life really has to offer. Here, I gave you the failure equation, right? Failure formula is trying to please everyone all the time. The freedom equation is knowing, is 4 W's. Having freedom of what you do, when you do it, where you do it, and who you do it with. That's the freedom. That is the freedom equation. But you have to know what you want to do. You have to be able to do it when you want to do it. You got to know where you want to do it and who you want to do it with. But so many of us have started like living life by default. And that's where that just has to, I'm here to tell you, it does not have to be that way. It doesn't, see, a lot of us, like I've been studying happiness and finishing well, because here, this is the thing. This is what you have to do. You have to look, okay? If you're on a path, right, and you're following something, you have to, or people in your industry, or maybe people in your family, or whatever whatever patterns you have, find people about 10 to 20 years ahead of you with those same practices and see if you want to end up where they're at. Right? Right? So if you are in the military, I'm just going to say that, okay? If you're in the military, okay, this is what I thought. See, I started watching the COs. I started watching the CO wives. I started observing, and I'm not putting them down. I'm just saying I started observing if that was the lifestyle I wanted. That's a decision for myself. Thank God they want that lifestyle. You know what I mean? Like that, we're very blessed, but you get to make that decision, right? You get to make that decision. So in whatever you're doing right now, look, and whatever, how you spend money, you know, what your practices are in your marriage, all those kind of things. If you look 10 to 20 years ahead of you, where are those people? Birds of a feather flock together is very, very real. The average of the 5 people you're around the most, don't ignore that rule. Don't ignore it. You will chameleon to it. Okay? So I had to ask myself that many, many times. And so I've been on this, in our industry, or in the life that I have to look 10 to 20 years ahead of myself. I ask myself, is anybody finishing well? This girl's going to finish well, period. So I'm going to research it. I'm going to figure out how to do it. But you guys have to step back, look at where other people are out, ask yourself if that's where you want to end up. Okay? That's where you're going to end up if you don't change something. So we talked about what do you hate, and we said what do you want, but we broke that down to what excites you. I've been studying happiness, like I told you, and happiness actually comes from excitement. Did you know they did a study, and unhappiness actually came from boredom? Isn't that crazy? Unhappiness actually came from boredom, okay? So what's the opposite of that? Excitement. Right? So why are we all rushing to retirement again? Like retirement, like do 20 years here and then you can what? Do what? Be bored? If you excel at your business or your job or whatever, you're like a go-getter, like, you know what I mean? Like, I won't be bored. Yes, you will. You retire from that if you naturally excel at things. And then you retire from that, a weekend, you're going to be like, well, I'm bored and unhappy. And you're going to go back to work. You'll be like, oh, what the hell did I do all that for? Right? Why did I put 30, 40 years in, right, of push, so I could retire to what? Realize that happiness actually comes from being excited. So if happiness comes from being excited and unhappiness comes from being bored, what excites you? That's where you have to reverse engineer it, right? We only get one go at this. Are you going to lay on your bed and, your deathbed? What are you going to ask yourself? What are you going to wish you'd done more of? Damn, really wish I would have spent more time at work. You know what I mean? Like, dang, I really wish I would have, I don't know. What? Like what? You don't get another go. And they've studied people on their deathbed. They've studied things that they wish they would have done. Right? They said none of them, actually, the majority of them said, I wish I would have worked less. But we chase and chase and chase this idea of retirement, which leads you to unhappiness, because if you guys ever, it's why Bear Bryant died right after he retired. Was it Bear Bryant? Chad and I were talking about it today. I think so, because it ended and he was like bored, died. You died when you retire. So let's talk about dreamlining. Okay, write that down, dreamlining. Okay, and this is going to go pretty quick, so stick with me, and then we're going to do a Q&A. Okay, listen. this is the problem. When I was studying this whole finishing well, I'm looking at finishing well. I'm living well right now, but I want to finish well. Okay, like on my deathbed, I want to be like, okay, that was good. Here I come. You know what I mean? Like, I want to finish well. And when I was studying that, happiness, excitement, all those things, goal setting, all that stuff I was telling you, like failure formula, the freedom multiplier, all of that kind of stuff, here's what I realized. And this is where I've been cutting you guys short. So this is where we're about to dig in. This is why 2017 is going to freaking rock, okay? You guys have a really good foundation, but this is where I've been cutting you short. Dreamlining versus goal setting, okay? We're going to dreamline, not goal set. Okay, I just thought if I put dreamlining, I might confuse you and less people would show up. So I called it goal setting. So, because that seemed like status quo, you know? So, okay, so how do we go to dreamlining? There's a couple things that have to change. And this is where I've cut you guys short, I think, sometimes. Your goal must be so incredibly unrealistic to be effective. I'm going to let that set in for a second. How many of you guys have unrealistic, like really unrealistic goals on your sheet? I tell you what, when I made I didn't realize I had done that, you know, years ago, but they were stupid, unrealistic, like dumb, you know, like 10-star. And I mean, you guys have to understand, when I made that goal with Shalene Johnson, it'd been 16 months of dragging my feet and then couldn't figure out how to do anything. You know what I mean? And my income, like Chad will look back, like we've charted it, and Chad's like, I don't know why you kept doing it. You know what I mean? It's like nothing. Anybody feel that way? Like nothing. It was unrealistic with my goals if you would have thought about what I was producing at that time. So it must be completely unrealistic. Okay, 2, they must be short deadlines. Some of us are like, my goal is to make diamond in a year. Oh, it shouldn't take that long. I'm just gonna put, I know none of us want to hurt each other's feelings, and it's okay. No, it's not hard. I mean, it really, once you do it and you do what I tell you to, it's really like, seriously, you know, but you know what? We don't set unrealistic goals and then short deadlines. We're like, I'm gonna make it in 8 months. Okay, where's the sense of urgency in that? How many of you guys have been given a term paper in college? It's due at the end of the semester. Did y'all work on it the whole semester? Or like the last week? The last week, you and I both know it. I'm not even a procrastinator, and I didn't work on it the whole month. I wasn't researching it and being diligent and doing all those things. No, you know what I mean? No, the short deadlines are the one, like Chad, when he was in the military and he had to pass his PFT or PET test or whatever they call it in the Marine Corps, you know, literally waited until a week before, and Chad hated to work out, you guys. He ate Oreos and hot wings and, you know, all of that, you know, nasty, nothing that helped me, you know, obviously. He was my biggest sabotager, but he waited until the last week to start a pull-up regimen. You know what I mean? It's not like it's something he did every day. You know what I mean? Nope, the last week. So the problem is we give ourselves too much time. We give ourselves too much time on our goals. And that's what I've been learning. And that, because we give ourselves too much time, what do we lose? The excitement. And what makes us happy? Excitement. What makes us unhappy? Boredom. Do you guys see what I'm saying? Like my mind, like I was studying this, I was like, oh my gosh, do you know what I mean? Like you have to have short deadlines. And then 3, like a subset of that is your goals have to shift to defined steps that are also have short goals attached to them, like defined, like invite 3 people to my team by 11 a.m. on Wednesday. That defined. How many of you guys have set defined goals like that before? Gosh, I would have hit my goals way faster if I would have known this. Like, do you know what I mean? I would have been way more excited every day until I learned, you know what I mean? Like, every single day, you should have these goals that have timelines on them. Like, you know what I mean? That excite you, that propel you towards the goals that you set that are like 30 days away, right? So that's what he shares, okay? That's what is that you should, if you're dreamlining, they should be in increments, 30 days, 3 months, and 6 months, and then stop. No more of this 12 months from now, 5 years. Do you know what I mean? You can have a vision. I didn't say come and let's talk vision. I said come and let's talk goals. Not vision, goals. Vision is long game. Goals, right now. Right now. And this is where the excitement comes from. This is where the drive comes from, because you've identified what you hated. Right? You identified what you hated. If you really hate, listen, think about this. If you really hate no money for date night, and you identify, we're going to go through this, you identify what you need to go on a date, and you break it down to 2 challenge packs, and you have to have it every single month to hit it, you're going to hit it. If you take that money that's coming in, $140, right, from 2 challenge packs, and you put it somewhere because you hate it, like this is what we're doing, I'm saving my marriage, I'm going on date night, this has to happen, I know it has to happen for us to stay connected. If you hate it enough, you'll send the invites out. If you're not sending them out, you haven't got to a place of hate yet. You haven't got there yet. Okay. Woo! I'm losing my voice, you guys, can you tell? This is the place where when you're dreamlining, you have got to go with this no fucks given mentality. The only thing that matters is what excites you and what you hate. That's where you have to give a fox. And if anybody isn't understanding that, Chad posted a picture of me with a mug, you know what I mean? And this is like, I'm a people pleaser, right? And what's the failure equation, right? Where was I wasn't going to finish well. Why? What's the failure? Because I was trying to please everyone all the time. Okay? So that's where that comes from, that 8 days that I started to shift, right? Because it'll get you somewhere. Right? Some people it's getting right now. It's stopping them right this second. That failure formula is stopping you right now. But that failure formula caught up with me this year. Okay? So that's where that comes from. So you have got to consider that. Number 3, okay? So far you determined what you hate, you know, and what excites you. Number 2 is dreamlining. Okay, just understanding that they have to be unrealistic, right? They have to have short deadlines, and you're gonna have about 3 steps for each goal. We're gonna get there, okay? I just wanted you to get that. Number 3 is you have to determine the cost of your dream. Okay, and we're gonna identify quite a few dreams, okay? So I'm just giving you kind of the outline. Okay, you have to determine the cost of what you're working towards. I'll use date night, okay? How much does that cost? How much does a babysitter cost? Find one right now. Write it down. That's one of your things. 3 steps to each goal. 1 would be find a babysitter, right? How much does she or he charge? You know, reverse engineering that, okay? So where do you want to go to dinner? When Chad and I first started, I was happy to eat at Chili's. You know, I'm serious. I was happy to, now we like to eat different places, but you know, at Chili's, it was about the time. Or maybe you're like, you know what? There's this really cute place out back, like maybe you live on land, and it's a bottle of wine and a babysitter and a blanket. What does that cost? How much do you need? Do you see what I'm saying? Like, and how, you know, you should go every week. Don't throw excuses at me. Don't throw me any excuses. You read with your kids every week, right? Why you got to put your husband and spouse on the back burner? Every week, you should go on a date. And that doesn't include watching television. That's not a date. So just side notes for you guys. So you have to determine the cost. We'll come back to this, okay? And then 4, and we're going to break all this down. Number 4 is efficient versus effective. We have to determine that, okay? We have to dissect that. And when we do, once we put this all together, some of you guys are like, if I just had a game plan, we're going to get it, okay? So listen, here are some facts. Having sex is way better than TV. Absolutely. Your husband does it enough, do it, he might end up with a Corvette. Just saying. Okay, 80% results come from 20% of your efforts. Write that down. 80% of your results are going to come from 20% of your efforts. You have to determine what part of your efforts are actually determining your results. I'll give you one really good hint. It's generally not in like word art something. It's not in an app. You know what I mean? It's generally not in getting your office all pretty. Okay, let me show you what my office looks like. Okay, man, if success was only in your office, look, that thing is not even up, you know, that blackboard, right, or whiteboard or whatever, and that is a piece of crap table because I couldn't find one. Chad accidentally sold it at the last house, you know, and so I was like, oh, give me the folding table. I don't care. You know what I mean? I have books all over the place, and I'm Emerald, so don't give me that. Do you see what I'm saying? But here's what I want you to ask yourself. Am I inventing things to do to avoid what's important? Am I inventing things to do to avoid what's important? We have to talk about that, okay? So 80% of your results come from 20% of your effort. 20% of your sources, things in your life, cause 80% of your problems or unhappiness. 20% of your sources cause 80% of your unhappiness, 80% of your problems. What is that? What is that? I'll tell you, I had to eliminate some things when I started this. I knew what was causing my stress, and it wasn't necessarily their fault. I wasn't personally developed enough to handle my family. That's just an honest truth, okay? And it was causing me problems and unhappiness. And Shalene taught me how to create boundaries. Okay, so I have a question for you. If you had a heart attack, this is the question you have to ask yourself. Say you had two back-to-back heart attacks, okay? And your doctor said you can only work 2 hours a week on your extra business, okay? Because you have to go to work and take care of your kids. And he's like, look, if you keep doing this, if you can't keep working and all this kind of stuff, for this extra business, you only do 2 hours a week. What are the things that you would get done? What are the things that would fall to the wayside? And what are the things that would take priority? That's going to be a big deal here in a second, because some of us are inviting that. Right now, I'm going to ask all of you, I can ask, when people, I say, Summer, I can't even build my team, really struggling. I'm not even going to talk about Emerald because get that in a week. So Diamond, I can't get to Diamond. I'm like, okay, that's okay. Let me ask you a question. How many coaches have you invited to your team this week? Everybody set, go. So far this week, we're on Tuesday. How many of you invited? That'll give you your answer. Ooh, 12. Holy moly. 10, 0, 21. Holy moly. Okay, next question. So that should be eye-opening, because you can't build this business without adding to your team. Not residual income. You also can't reach enough people think about that when you build a team, right? Look at this. We got 166 people on here. What if I had never have invited to my team? What if I'd been like, no, I just don't know. 166 people are on here right now, which I'm sure if we would be on here for weeks if all of you guys had time to tell me your story. We'd be here about what this business has done for you, or this team, or challenge groups, or something. We'd be on here forever. So think about what that can look like for you in time, and how many people you can reach. It'd be crazy, right? So I'm going to ask you a next question, because we're about to dig into this priorities and goals and, dreamlining, really dig in, it's Tuesday. How many times have you had sex in the last 7 days? I've only been with Chad 1 day, and I've had sex twice, and I'm sick. You know what I'm saying? That'll tell you right there. I'm sorry, if you're not having, do you know what I mean? If you're not inviting to your team, you're not building it. If you're not having sex, you don't have a marriage. Do you know what I mean? You have a roommate. I'm just being honest. Do you know what I mean? And that's fine if you're good there. If you don't hate it, if you don't hate the thought of where that could go, that's okay. You know what I mean? But if you do, that's the first place to start. It's the first question when someone tells me they're struggling in their marriage. That's the first question I ask them. The very first question. Same with the business. Okay? So that should give you a, a hint as to which part, 80% of your results come from 20% of your efforts. That's your efforts. Okay? That's one thing, okay, that you need to put. That has to happen before a certain time tomorrow. It could be I'm going to invite to one person every single day before 10 a.m. And so I'm going to tell so-and-so that's because I hate. Why? What do you hate? Do you hate your date night? Do you hate not having enough money in your account for date night? Do you hate not having enough money in your account to, I don't know, take your kids to Chick-fil-A because there's no money in the account? Or what is it? You know what I mean? Like, you have to identify those things, and we have to talk about being efficient with our time, okay? Because honestly, this business shouldn't take a lot of time. Okay, so here we go. Now we're gonna break it down, and you're gonna get your game plan. You get 5 priorities. See, everybody is vying for your time. Everybody and everything. And if they can figure out a way to get a piece of you, guess what? They will. Okay? So what are your priorities when you're laying on your deathbed? You know what I mean? Like, are you going to be like, glad I did those things? Or you're going to be like, oh, hell. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I can't believe I was, I don't know, taught group fitness for so long. Maybe you don't like it like I didn't. Do you know what I mean? Like, well, I like it. It just took away from my time with my kids. So do you see what I'm saying? Like, what are the things that they don't need to be on your priority list? What are they? Remember, I said you have to identify. I'm getting all excited. See, I'm backing up and getting ready to stand up. This is where it comes, what do you want? Okay, so for example, I'll give you guys my priorities just to give you guys a starting point, but this is where everything's going to fire from. Okay, so, and it didn't start out this way. This, it flip-flopped. So I don't need it. I'm not going to talk about where I was, 7 years ago, but for me now, number 1 is my faith. Number 2 is Chad, the marriage, not just Chad, but the actual, the marriage, not Chad, the marriage, because you know what? Chad pisses me off sometimes. You know what I mean? So the marriage has to be the priority. Can't always be Chad because he's not always the most fun. So true. Number 3, hey, Riley, are my kids. Right. I love you. See ya. So number 3 are my kids, right? And these are in order, right? Number 4 is Beachbody. Okay, so in this order, and number 5 is Nicaragua, but it's shifting. So do you see what I'm saying? So those are my 5 priorities. I could probably even shift Nicaragua up under my faith. You know what I mean? As I start to work these out. But you notice, like, you have to define these things or someone else is going to define it for you. And Shalene Johnson taught me that. And then Danny Johnson, brought it on home. You know what I'm saying? And so you have to identify those. And then you have to make sure your calendar lines up with that. If this business doesn't make your schedule on a regular basis. Now, hopefully I taught you guys, we can break this down, right? Where you're not working a whole bunch to create it. See, we create a lot of busy work that isn't necessary. I'm going to tell you a story about that in a second. You know what I mean? But this business has got to make your priority list, just like your marriage does, or both will die, right? If your kids don't make your priority list, they live in your house now, but 18's coming. You see what I'm saying? So you have what you put effort into, what you focus on is what you'll get back. Okay. And so you have to decide that. You have to identify them, and you have to make sure your calendar lines up with it. Okay. And if you go and put this stuff into practice, like I'm telling you, your husband is going, or spouse, there's probably some men on here. I only see women right now, will be like, sure, you want to go listen? You want to go plug in with your Beachbody people? You know what I mean? You want to go to we talked about all kinds of stuff at the retreat this weekend to improve our marriage, didn't we, Liz? You know what I mean? And if you do that and you go home and put it into practice, and he's like,
what changed? It's like, oh, we talked about it here, and I need to put it into I'm telling you, he's gonna say, like, you can go. You can go back. If you sit on these webinars and nothing changes, or if you go to these events, Summit or Danny with us, or a retreat, and nothing changes, don't expect him to support you going. See what I'm saying? Right? And that comes all from your priorities. Okay. So once you have your priorities, now you get 10 goals. Now you get 10 goals, okay? And you get to identify them, okay? There's 3 categories. I have, I'll be, and I'll do, okay? Those are just guidelines, okay? Like what do you, like, it's okay to want things, you guys. You know what I mean? Like, it really, really is. Like, finally, when I learned, like, when I asked Chad this question, what do you want? You know what I mean? I was talking to him because I've been studying it. He's like, a Corvette. I was like, oh, shit. You know what I mean? Oh, crap. Do you know what I mean? Like, it is okay to want some things once you reverse engineer it. So everything that I'm teaching you right now is fresh. Like, Chad and I seriously reverse engineered it the exact way that I've been teaching you. And that's, well, we were looking at a car for me, but saw the Corvette. I mean, what are the chances of that? I never, you know what I mean? The exact Corvette. Anyway, okay, so what do you, like, I have, what do you have? What do you want? Is it, do you want, I have a house. You know what I mean? I have a house that, has a walkout basement, or a house with, I have what? What? I have what? Might not even, a new kitchen. That's good, right? I'll be what? A 10-star? Remember, you guys, these goals are in 30 days, 3 months, and 6 months. I'm not saying 15 stars isn't a possibility in 6 months. Don't get me wrong, but I'm going to make you reverse engineer that to find your 15 people. So I'll be, what is it? I'll be diamond. I'll be, right, Kelly? Guess what? You identify that, I have no doubt you'll end up with that Jeep now. Because you're going to reverse engineer it in a way that is in your budget that doesn't, because I don't believe in over expanding yourself. You guys should know that by now. If it doesn't fit in your budget, don't just go buy the Jeep just because, what the hell? Summer said, I want it, I can have it. No, it doesn't work like that. You have to reverse engineer it. You know what I mean? So remember, you guys, these goals are 30 days, 3 months, 6 months. So I'll be what? If you're not diamond, you guys, that diamond in 30 days is so doable, especially when you put it like that and we identify the activities behind it. You guys think about that. That's just 10 coaches in your downline. I can teach you how to do that. Your coach can teach you how to do that. You know what I'm saying? You'll be what, okay? And then you'll do what? Maybe you want to go skydiving. You want to go skydiving this year, or I'll do the One Nation in Nicaragua in July. What is it? You know what I mean? Like, those goals have got to show up. I'll be 16% body fat, or I'll be 20% body fat, or I'll be an insanity graduate. Do you know what I mean? Like, what are the things, like, what do you want? Not like, don't get in your head and be like, well, I don't know. I don't look like the kind of person that would do insanity. I don't look like the kind of person that would hit 5-star in 6 months. Do you know what I mean? Like, no. There is no look. There's no look. There's a belief and there's a focus. Okay. So you get 10 of them. Y'all write all 10 down already? See, some of you guys, and I want you to write this down as well. Some of you guys are, right now, what's going through your head is what you did last week, or what you did in 2016, or the fact that you've been a coach for, 4 years, But now, write it down. But now. That's it. But now. You can't look backwards and forwards at the same time. But now. Okay, you can harp on the fact that, this past weekend you ate like crap, but now, see, you have control over right now, right? And so make a goal. Do you know what I mean? Like, you won't, like, some of you guys are hemming and hawing about the whole 30, but until you're sick and tired of your stomach hurting, or your cholesterol being too high, or the aches and pains in your bodies, or whatever, you have to hate it. And then you have to say, but now. Right now, I'm going to do it. Right now, I'm going to change that. Some of you guys, that have been hemming and hawing on your marriage, and you're making all kinds of excuses, but you haven't said, damn it, I hate living like a roommate. I hate what it's doing to our family. I hate looking into the future and seeing I'm going to end up like my parents. You have to say I hate it, and then you have to wipe it clean. You have to hit the reset button and go forward. And we have got to get there. And that's where this place of goals have to come from. But now, and then you put your head down and you focus because you hate it so much. I hated debt so much. I hated living in the red. I hated living on credit cards. I hated getting into a bed bottom. I hated it. And I was willing to say it. Whether, lots of military wives thought I don't know what they thought. They said a lot of mean things about me. But I can't, that is the failure equation. 7 years ago, I was willing to step back and say, this is what I want. And it's not meant to offend anybody else. It is just the sheer fact that when I lay on my deathbed, I'm not going to lay there and be like, well, I'm glad I didn't offend any of those military wives with going this route. That sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? Sounds ridiculous. Write this down. I know I keep saying that. I hope you wrote a lot of things down. But shorten your approval list. Shorten your approval list. And if you can't say to someone what your goals are and what you want without them saying something negative back, you have to ask yourself, were they really ever on your team to begin with? Were they really ever on your side? Were they really ever a friend to begin with? Wouldn't you rather know who really is on your side? Who are the birds you want to flock with? Who are your they? Wouldn't you rather find that out? I would. You know what I mean? I'd rather have real friends than fake friends. And live a happy life than an unhappy one with a bunch of fake friends. So I know some of you guys are afraid of getting laughed at. If they laughed at you, guess what? They weren't your friend, and they're not your they. Right now, they're not your they. One day they might be, but they're not your they. If those that are around you can't get excited for what excites you, there's a very real problem in that. There's a very real problem in that. Okay? So, the last piece before we jump into efficient versus effective. And remember, I talked about number 3, determining the cost of your dream. Okay? If you want to leave your job in the next 12 months, you need to break that down. Like, for example, when I figured out, I finally was like, some of you guys might know this story, but Chad, I had a Cadillac Escalade. When did we sell it? This summer.
This spring.
Right? Because we used money that we had in our account that was meant for Nicaragua to buy an investment house. Well, I had a goal. And if I have to sell my car to hit the goal, guess what? I'm going to do it. You know what I mean? So I sold it, right? And I bought a piece of crap car so that then we could buy this house, right? It was like car, house, you know what I mean? So I bought like a 2005, not a good car. I mean, it's just not. And finally, and I was kind of afraid to admit, like, that I wanted a new car. Do you know what I mean? Like, we're not supposed to want those kind of things. We're not supposed to want materialistic things, right? And so it was like this thing. And I remember when I was in South Carolina and I was working through this thing and I was like, I want a new car. Like, you know what I mean? It's very liberating. Do you know what I mean? Like, and then you reverse engineer it. And I was like, Chad, does it fit in the budget? And he was like, are you serious? Yes, it fits in the budget, Summer, and then some. And I was like, oh, you know what I mean? He showed me the numbers, right? So it's not like just go buy whatever you want. It's not like I want to go get it right now. You know what I mean? But when you find out how much it costs, right? You reverse engineer it, right? To the point where, Chad wanted a Corvette. And we're like, never, like, that's dumb. How much does that cost? You know what I mean? And then you look up the price and you're like, wait, that fits in the budget while still donating over the amount that we donate. Oh, okay. That's not that, do you guys see what I'm saying? When you really look at the cost of things, say you want to go on a family vacation somewhere, how much is it going to cost you? What is it? Remember, the goal is not to retire. I know some of us are like, I'm going to retire my husband. Don't be dumb, okay? Unless you want your husband to be unhappy. Remember, I said unhappiness comes from boredom. Happiness comes from excitement. So maybe it's so your husband can leave his job and do whatever he wants, right? But don't get caught in this sales thing about retiring our spouse and all that kind of stuff, right? The goal is not to retire. The goal is, remember I told you guys the 4 W's. Do what you want to do, when you want to do it, where you want to do it, who you want to do it with, right? And to have incremental retirements, you know what I mean? So it's like so the book I was reading was, he does for every 2 months of work, he takes 1 month off to work. That's his style, right? For me, it might be 3 weeks of work, 1 week off, 3 weeks of work. I don't know, but you get to decide. You see, it's not that I don't ever want to work again. I mean, holy hell, you guys, I could have already retired. We don't need to do this anymore, right? We have so much there's just no need. I mean, Chad was like, you can have that car on the real estate, income we have. But I don't want to be unhappy, right? I want to be excited. I want to be happy. So you guys have to put all of this stuff together, and remember what your goal is, right? And then you have to be unapologetically you. What do you want? You know what I mean? When, what are you going to achieve in the next 30 days, the next 3 months, and the next 6 months, right? And it has to be quick. Remember what I said? So like Diamond, really, the goal shouldn't be like 6, it should be like 30 days. And you need to, if that's on your list, say, if you're like, no, but I don't want to build a business, that's fine. It doesn't have to be on it. Then there should be, 40 push-ups, right? Maybe I want to be able to do 40 push-ups on my toes or 20 push-ups. Don't make it in 6 months or this year. It should be 30 days, right? And when you get that focused, guess what? You'll do what Griffin does. Every morning when he gets out of bed, he does 20 push-ups. Sees how far he can get every time and then keeps going. You know what I mean? Here's a great example of waiting into your last minute and achieving it, right? So he had all Christmas break to learn how to juggle a soccer ball 10 times. When do y'all think he started? The weekend before. He had like all break. I blew up the ball for him. Do you know what I mean? I even tried to remind him. He's like, I had time. It's good, right? Did he do it? Yeah. He figured it out. See what I'm saying? So it has to be like, that's where the excitement comes from. And a lot of us are scared because we're afraid of failure because we've been surrounded by people that remind us that we failed, right? Or that laughed at us one time or called us a wimp or called us something. There's this great story in, what's that book you're reading? The Happiness Equation. A Happiness Equation. I told you guys I'm obsessed with it because who cares how much money you have or what you do or what kind of job you have or what kind of car you have if you're not happy? Doesn't matter. It really doesn't. Or what title behind your name. So in the Happiness Equation, it was talking about this person's fear of swimming, right? Because when is the author a he? I couldn't tell.
Yeah, it's he.
It's a he. He was made fun of one time when he came down a slide. He never wanted to do it. His sister was 6 and was really good at swimming, and he didn't want to. And his dad was like, I'll catch you. I promise I'll catch you. So he goes down the slide. Some of you guys can relate to this. And he could see when he was coming down, his dad wasn't paying attention, right? They were at a barbecue with all their friends, and they had been drinking. And he started to, you know what I mean? Like joking around with everybody. And he started to panic as he came down. Right? His dad still wasn't paying attention. It dropped him into the water and he couldn't get up. It's like, I'm thinking like 3 or 4, you know what I mean? He couldn't get up, he's looking at his dad like through the water. His dad's not even paying attention to him. And finally his dad remembers and swishes and picks him up and says, see, I told you, buddy, you could swim. And he was like, I didn't swim. I almost freaking drowned. You know what I mean? He never swam again. Never. Why? Because he was scared. Before he had gone up, his dad had called him a wimp. Stop being a wimp. Just go do it. Your sister can do it. Stop being a wimp. Stop being a wimp. Stop being a wimp. He came down. He did it. He couldn't swim. He's a wimp, right? That's what kept playing over and over and over in his head. right? And so he tried to keep making himself believe it. And he never went and did it because he didn't believe it yet. And he said, let's flip the equation, which I did this at Summit. Let's flip the equation a little bit from what you believe and start with action, right? Take action, right? So I was talking to Kimberly, and I'm so proud of her because she did it. Like, she did it, and I used this, I told her this, she was afraid to go on Facebook Live, right? And everybody was telling her, like, how good she is, and, and she is, like, everything they were saying, like, who doesn't like to listen to Kimberly talk? I mean, like, I do. Like, obviously, we're super close. Like, I love to listen to her. She's funny, you know what I mean? Like, everybody loves Kimberly Wilcox, right? Like, so no one can understand why Kimberly won't go live. And I could have kept telling her how amazing she was, but instead I just said, well, I guess what I would ask you is how bad you want your goals. How bad do you want your goal? Right? She went live today. It was a little bit of a gut punch. Do you know what I mean? But I'm going to ask you the same thing, right? You have to take action in it. You have to take, so I'm this guy, I mean, he can't swim, can't swim with his kids, he can't do anything. So I guess he had to ask himself sooner or later, how bad do I want to swim? Pretty damn bad. So guess what? He didn't believe he could swim. He signed up for an adult swim class and just did it. You know what I mean? He just took action and he flailed around, he said at first, you know what I mean? But he started to catch it and he realized I kind of can swim. Like, it's not that bad, And so he kept coming back. So it actually started with action first, right? So some of you guys don't believe you can hit diamond, and I don't care what you believe right now. I just want you to take action. Coming from a place of hate. You hate where you're at, right? You hate where you're at. And I'm telling you how to get where you want to go. Everything on this goal sheet, your goal sheet that you wrote down, we can help you achieve from a place of action and a place of hate. But you really have to get to that place, right? And so those 10 goals have got to be solid, man. You have got to have them down, and you have to care about them, and they have to come from a place of hate, and they have to build upon a place of excitement, and they have to come from a place of focus, and they have to be short, and they have to be intense, because that's where excitement comes from, and that's where happiness. So if you're feeling like blah, do you know what I mean? Like, unless you want 2017 to be the same as 2016, take this approach. Take this approach. Make yourself a goal that kind of is uncomfortable, like the whole 30. You know what I mean? Like tackling, insanity or P90X2 or something, or being able to do, 5 unassisted pull-ups. Tackle something and give it a short deadline. And get so focused on it from a place of hate. You have got to get to that place where you hate what it does to you more than what it does for you. Hitting the snooze button, what does it do for you? Makes you feel better. Do you know what I mean? You're like, oh, I don't have to get up. Do you know what I mean? Like, just 10 more minutes. But by the time you get up, you're running late from school, and you hate that feeling of that. It has to be enough where that when that alarm goes off, you get up. Chad finally came to a place of hate. He got out of bed before me first today because he hated where he was at in terms of leadership in our household. Hated it. He had to get to, there was nothing I could say. There's no nagging that I could do. He saw me get up for 7 years, many times without him and many times first before he got to that place of hate, right? So that's where it has to come from, you guys. Determine the cost of it. Go on each one. What is the cost of it? Like, some of them are going to cost you $0, right? Getting to diamond isn't going to cost you anything. Doesn't cost you anything. No money, nothing. You know what I mean? You have a warm market. You don't need no ads. Stop with the freaking ads. You don't need any ads to get to diamond. Okay? Right? So diamond doesn't cost you anything. And you have to be efficient versus effective. I mean, you have to be effective versus efficient. Look at what is taking up your time and derailing you, and get rid of it. Get rid of it. Okay? For example, dropped my phone in the bathtub, right? And it's sitting in rice and it's not starting and all that kind of stuff. And I don't, like, everybody's like giving me, and I looked at the price. I was like, oh, I have to have a phone to run my business, right? So I start looking it up and I'm like, how much? Like, what? Like, Chad, is this really, am I reading this right? Am I misunderstanding how much this costs? Nope. $700. I was like, oh, no. 850 on the one I really wanted, apparently, because I was going for the lower one. 850, no. Not getting it. Do you know what I mean? And shit, all day long, he's like, okay, but we're going to go look at a new car and you won't buy a cell phone. No, I won't. I don't want it. I don't want it. You know, I wanted the car. I didn't want the cell phone. I don't want, you know what I mean? So then let me tell you guys what I realized. Throughout the day, I got my work done in an hour and a half and took the rest of the day off. Are you serious? Do you know how much time sometimes it has taken me? I'm not getting a phone. I'm not getting a new cell phone. I told Chad I'm not getting a new cell phone. I'm getting a landline. If any of y'all want to call me, talk to me or Chad, you can. But you know how many times I didn't check Facebook today? Right? I didn't check my messages. I didn't have any texts. No phone calls. Nothing to care about. You know what I mean? No apps to play with. Do you guys see what I'm saying? I spent more time with my kids. I spent more time holding Chad's hand. And I was more effective in my business. That's crazy, right? So check yourself. How many times are you answering texts periodically during the day? Remember how I said 20% of your sources cause 80% of your problems and unhappiness. 80%. What are the things in your life that need to go, right? That are causing you, like notifications, checking your newsfeed, how many likes you have, do you know what I mean? Like, where's your time going? Checking how many likes you have, not gonna build your income. Build your ego, not your income, right? Okay, so you have to be aware of these things. This business, if you had a heart attack and only had 2 hours a week, what would you do? I'd tell you what I'd do. I'd invite like crazy. I would do a Facebook Live and 1 mastermind coaches for my team, and I'd be done. That's it. I only got 2 hours. I invite like crazy. I would provide a mastermind, and I would do a Facebook Live to build relationships. And that's it. That's all I do. I mean, think about it. Like back in the day, people did dials. You know what I mean? They called people or went door to door sharing things. That you could be the most efficient dialer, and it's not the most effective way to build a business anymore. It's not. No one wants to answer the phone. You know what I mean? Like, it's not. I could teach people that are still doing dials how to rock their business on less time. It's not even funny. Okay. That's all I have for you guys tonight. And of course, I went over, and I'll stay on like I promised you guys. That is it. So I will stay on and answer questions, of course, and I'm going to switch to gallery view. But if you need to go to bed, if you have something to do, please, you're not going to miss anything. I'm going to unrecord and then record again so that you get the Q&A session if you would like it. So let me stop the recording. Hold on.